you were saying we're not a Jamaat that's trying to be, in that sense of the word, religious. And I was thinking about that because people, when they become religious, so many times, especially Muslims, they become more hard-hearted, selfish, especially in this country. And we're understanding more from the Soviets, especially in these last 3 months, that the purpose of Islam, the way that Holy Prophet ﷺ came to bring, is to make us to become more compassionate, to care for other people. So in the real way of Islam, in the real way of training, that how do those things that now make people to become hard, that they become, when they pray, they fast, they give charity, it makes them to become selfish or hard-hearted, how does that actually support in real Islam, in the way of our Shaykh and Ottomans, for you to become more compassionate?
How does that support you to become more compassionate?
How is that, yeah, how is that supposed to be taught to people as opposed to how it's being taught now? That when people become more religious, they start becoming more selfish. That those parts of the religion, praying, these things are not personal, but they make you to become more.
It's not that cut and dried. I mean, it's not just for us to be compassionate, and that's part of the thing. Whether religious or compassion, if you're not doing it with haqq, it will bring you to the other side. If you're religious, you're not doing it with haqq. If you're religious and you're doing it for your ego, it will bring you to the fire. If you're compassionate, so many, you call Muslim liberals today, so compassionate, mashallah. You tell them Islam is BismillahirRahmanirRahim, compassion. If it's up to them, they will have more compassion than the Prophet. So, if you have that compassion and you don't do it for the sake of haqq, it will lead you to Jahannam also. So who speaks for haqq? Haqqanis. Who speaks for haqq? We are very confused now because we don't have Khalifa, we don't have a system of haqq, we don't have institutions of haqq. Haqq now becomes like a concept, a philosophical question, where for, let's say, 1,400 years, there's no question what is haqq. There are haqq people, there are haqq rulers, there are haqq institutions. And these institutions, they may make mistakes, they may be weak from time to time, but they're still standing up for haqq. And all these, from the Sultan to the institutions, to the people, to the alims and the ulamas, to the awliyas, to the sheikhs and the hojas, they all have internal systems and external systems of checks and balances. Someone goes up, they bring them down, someone goes like this, they check each other, you understand? So it's not that institution in the way that we understand what is institution now also. They're checking. And for the most part, all these things, they are also the alims, the ulamas, they're separate. They don't listen to anyone. They're not under the authority of anyone. You understand? And now they have autonomy that is given to them. They may even correct the Khalifas. They may even bring down the Khalifa to say the time is up. And they put in good one, that is the better one, let's say. So now all those institutions, we have no idea. We don't live it, nobody taught us about it. It's as if Islam has always been like this, confused. Muslims have always been like this, confused. Oh, the time there wasn't confusion, Khulafa Rashidin. But don't forget, even during the time of the Khulafa Rashidin, the first fitnah happened during that time also. I'm not blaming, obviously, the Khalifas, but what we're trying to say is the conditions to bring fitnah is always there. But again, there were checks and balances. Islam was still high. People of haqq were still ruling. This is the difference. Are the people of haqq ruling or not? Is Islam still strong? As a Muslims, Islam is always strong, but the Muslims still strong? Are they moving the world to different directions? It used to be, not anymore. It used to be, not anymore. We were a superpower only yesterday. Not anymore. But we're made to forget 1400 years. We're not taught that. So we think that we're always in this kind of low situation. So, because there are no institutions like that, people just make up whatever they want. It is a time of fitnah. People just make up what they want. There used to be control. No, anyone can declare themselves anything, do something. Any man knows a couple of ayats, a couple of hadiths. He's going to challenge 1400 years of tradition. And he's ready to condemn all the alims and ulamas of the past and the sheikhs and to be in kufr. For that, you don't need Wahhabism. It's always in man's egoistic condition inside of him when he thinks he's better, whether he's Wahhabi or not. If he is not understanding that ego, if he's not under the training of a master, then he's going to run with it. Never forget, Hazrat Yunus Emre was writing poems praising Allah, praising the Prophet ﷺ, so beautiful, so personal. He's using imagery that the alims and the ulamas, they don't like. And they may even say, from their standpoint, not even wrong akidah, they say this is kufr. They have a point. They do, they're alims. They have a point. But their point is not higher than the point of the Ahlul Haqq, the friends of Allah. What's his name? Mullah Qasim. Mullah Qasim, very learned man, very religious man, and he was in charge of collections, let's say, of a library. And in it there were the written poems of Hazrat Yunus Emre. As you know, Hazrat Yunus Emre is a beloved one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his most beloved ones. We are looking at the Osmanli Empire. These are not Turkish saints, they are Ottoman saints. And they are the saints of the ruling empire at that time. This is not for us to say there are no saints in China or in Indonesia or in Africa, but because we are supporting now the empire, we are concentrating on that, and there are different secrets now. Those saints who are supporting those institutions and that power, they have different secrets. Those who are further away, they have different secrets. So we're concentrating on that, because that is what gives us the most benefit, because we're in the Osmanli way. So you took the whole book, and he was reading, and he was by a river, and he was reading, and he says, oh, wrong word he used here, this is shirk. He tear it, he threw it into the water. Reading, he says, oh, this is the wrong word here, this is kufr. He tear it up, he threw. He's tearing, throwing, there's the only copy. It was the only copy of Hazrat Yunus Emre's. Until he came to the point where he's reading a poem and it says, and you, referring to Mullah Qasim, you Mullah, you're sitting here and you're judging my words. Who is going to save you when Allah the Most High, the judge, is going to judge you? He stopped. And he understood. This one that he is charging according to his level of Aqidah, according to his level of understanding, this one is much higher. There is a knower above every knower. And it is wrong for him. It's not his place to judge this person. And he woke up and he saved. Otherwise, all the works of Hazrat Yunus Emre was going to be lost. And Shaykh Effendi is saying, the awliya Allah is saying, because the papers that he is throwing into the water, he says now 1/3 of Hazrat Yunus Emre's poems in qasidas, in ilahis, the fish that is in the ocean is singing them. So there are checks and there are balances. You need then to have a master to train you, to make sure that you are doing it for Haqq sake, not for your own sake, not for the sake of your ego, not for ideology, not for this, not for that. Then, if you don't have that, whatever that you're doing, you're touching, you think that it is for the sake of Haqq, but it is not. You see this much. The master sees something else. The guide sees something else. The guide sees what is in front and what is behind. So, what it means also now, that for whatever it is, whether being religious or learning to care for the ummah, this is for now. We have to understand, but there's other things. Huh? Whether it's being religious or caring for the ummah, we are Muslims. We are following the tradition of Hazrat Ibrahim Halilullah, following the tradition of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Which means what? Which means what? No, we must stand up. We must stand up against disbelief. We must stand up against disbelief. We must bring down disbelief. That's why I'm saying Muslims have lost that script. They've lost that direction. They don't stand up against disbelief. They stand up for themselves. Their countries, their ideologies, their families, their money, their property, their ideas, but they're not standing up against disbelief. And the only ones who are doing that, that's given that power, are the extreme wrong ones. So, when you don't know what is disbelief right now here, in this situation, you don't know what is disbelief, you don't understand it, you don't have a direction also. As believers who are following the traditions of the Prophet, following traditions of Sahabe Kiram. Sahabe Kiram, they were not living for themselves. They were not living to gain higher stations in Akhirat. They were not living to get higher stations in Jannat. They were not living for their families, for their clans, they were not. They had a very clear mission. Truth is now established and falsehood must fall. Definitely falsehood is going to perish. And that continued through the ages, over 1,400 years, but it got lost. And now, this is the confusion, because we don't know what is black and we don't know what is white. We don't know what is truth and we don't know what is falsehood. Living in a world like this, we say, no, everything is the same. Don't do that, because you don't want to separate people. Don't discriminate against them. We're not discriminating against people. We're talking that there are wrong teachings there. And we're not going to accept them, and we're not going to normalize it. So now, if you don't know that, then even your religiousness or your compassion, for what? For what? If you don't know that we're living in Akhir Zaman, if you don't know that Dajjal is ruling, if you don't know what is this system of Dajjal inside and outside, everywhere, from top to bottom, and you don't know that you're supposed to fight this in whichever way that you can, in our way, we cannot move with the hand. At least we can move with the tongue and with the heart. If you're not doing that, you lost the script also. Now you want to be good, you want to be compassionate, for what? Or you want to be religious, for what? All that is secondary questions, not so important. The primary thing has to be as Hazrat Fatima radiallahu anhu saying to the father, "Oh my father, when are you going to rest? You had just come back from a battle and you're more exhausted than ever. When are you going to rest? You should. And he says, I will not rest until you see that sun that is shining in every house. He says, yes, until that sun of Islam shines in every house in this world. What is, now you will understand now what is your mission. Dajjal is ruling. Dajjal is going to say these are good times. These are great times. Don't fight. Mahdi alayhi salam will surely come. And when he comes, his mission is not to go to higher Jannat. His mission is not for his family. His mission is to bring Haqq back and for Haqq to rule. Now look at yourself and say where you want to be. Above everything else, where you want to be. We're in here fighting against Dajjal and welcoming Mahdi alayhi salam now. If you're going to welcome Mahdi alayhi salam when he's already here, it's too late. You didn't make any preparation. And never forget, as our Shaykh and Sultan al-Awliya is saying, there will be so many Muslims who are going to reject Mahdi alayhi salam when he comes. They're going to reject him, because he doesn't fit into their agenda. What agenda? Look around what Muslims are. Those who have power, what are the agendas? That agenda. They're not going to accept. And he says, there will be many from amongst the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians and other ones too. There will be many who are going to support Mahdi alayhi salam. So we have to be careful. So it is not even about religiousness, obviously. It's not even about just having compassion and caring for each other. It is about what is Haqq and what is batil, what is tyranny, what is biting tyranny right now. And do you support those tyrannical systems? What is biting tyranny? And what Mahdi alayhi salam is going to bring. Then everything else will fall. Religiousness or compassion, everything else will fall. But not now, if you're not able to make the separation, it's going to be very difficult then. Shaykh Effendi is saying, then I doubt your faith. If you cannot separate. Dajjal is making everything to come to become one. Mahdi alayhi salam is going to separate. Yes? So look to see. Understand this, inshallah. May our Shaykh always keep us under his feet, on a tight leash, inshallah. May we never betray. May Allah forgive us and give us strength to hold on. May Allah raise his station high. Al-Fatiha. Amen.